So some of you know my story, some of you may not know my story. I think the best way to always start any kind of talk is, what's my story? How did I get into nutrition? So I've been a trainer since my mid-20s. I've worked at the YMCA, 24 Hour Fitness, LA Fitness. I mean, I've been all over the place in terms of gyms. But about 6 years ago, at the old Pure Motion, which was 3 doors down, some of you I think were there. I think Terry was there. That's, I think, about it, actually, to be honest.
Old school, yeah.
Old school, old school. And they had a nutritionist on staff. And I really wanted to know more about nutrition. I thought I knew a lot, but I'm like, this lady was a certified nutritionist. She had 20-year experience. I asked her if she would trade services with me, and she said, yeah, let's trade services. So she says, the best way for me to help you is go to the lab. These are the things I want the lab to look at in your blood test, to bring it back, and we'll analyze it and go over, your markers, cholesterol, everything, right? So came back a couple weeks later, had the results. She's reading the results, and she's like, oh, and I was like, that can't be good. And I'm like, what's going on? She goes, well, this marker is showing that you're not producing enough stomach acid. I don't know what's going on. So, we really haven't talked, but tell me what's going on with you. Do you have any symptoms? Do you have any health concerns? I'm like, well, I've had acid reflux for 15 years in my early 20s. She's like, okay, and are you taking, antacids? I'm like, every day. I take a Zantac every day. And I don't know if anybody here has had acid reflux, but it is not fun, and sleeping is a challenge because you got to elevate your bed, and there's certain tips to do here and there. And I figured out eating apples would help my stomach out, but I just always had stomach acid and always burned my esophagus, very uncomfortable. And she goes, well, what this is showing is you don't have enough stomach acid now because you're continuously, so all the food that you're eating is not getting actually broken down efficiently, and the nutrients aren't really getting dispersed where they're supposed to go. And I was like, okay, well, okay. I was kind of confused, really, to be honest. And she goes, any other symptoms you have? And I'm like, well, I'm at the highest weight I've ever been on. I was 235 at that time. And so I was putting on weight and couldn't figure it out. I was bloated, I had gas, and I actually had acne a little bit. Here I'm like 35-ish, and I had acne, and I was like, oh, it's just hormones, testosterone, whatever, but really didn't realize that those toxins that, the food that wasn't getting broken down was coming out of my skin, okay? And the food that wasn't getting broken down with the stomach acid was fermenting in my gut, causing gas, causing bloating. And when she described it to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is starting to make sense. She goes, well, I'm gonna give you one supplement. And I'm not advising anybody to do what I did. I'd like you to talk to me first because there's concerns that could hurt you if you did what I did. But I was taking, it's called betaine HCl, which actually stimulates more stomach acid. And at first I'm like, no, I don't need any more stomach acid. I got enough. She's like, no, the reason that it's burning is because that food isn't getting digested and it's burning your esophagus. And I'm like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. And, I'm going to trust you. You got 20 years experience. I'm going to trust you. This one supplement. So every meal, I would consume 1 or 2 tablets of this HCl, hydrochloride, okay? And 2 months, no lie, no more acid reflux, no more bloating, no more gas, very limited acne. And I learned about which foods were actually causing the acne. And I lost 25 pounds. So I was completely blown away that doctors were telling me antacids, Prilosec, Zantac. She said the exact opposite, and the health benefits I got from doing her protocol was completely health to me. And I'm like, wow, if I don't know this, and here I'm a trainer for so many years, I don't know this, I need to dig a little deeper because I've had so many clients that couldn't lose weight, and I thought they were cheating, they weren't working hard enough, so kill them more. Right, that's what us trainers think is just, that's just, if they're not losing weight, we got to bump up the intensity, work them out, and actually that was all wrong. I mean, maybe some people were cheating here and there, but in reality, I needed to learn much as I could. So I got 2 certifications. One's a functional diagnostic nutritionist, and one's a certified metabolic typing advisor. Now, those sound like big words, you don't know what they mean. The functional diagnostic nutritionist allowed me to work under doctors doing lab work on my clients. So I would do saliva testing to look at their hormones, looked at 8 different kinds of hormones, cortisol, DHEA, 2 estrogens, testosterone, melatonin, and progesterone. Also looked at with the urine testing, so looked at liver function, which is an awesome organ. I should say not awesome, but it's a very important organ for weight loss. And if this is sluggish, if you consume toxins throughout your food or artificial sweeteners or coloring, or that just bogs down that liver, and that liver is filtering blood continuously. I think they said like 3 liters every like minute or something like that. It's crazy. So continuously, it's a filter. It's your oil filter in your body. Like a car, the good analogy is right like that, okay? So, and finally, when like some of these markers would come back high, I would actually recommend stool testing, because I wanted to find those hidden stressors. I wanted to find that H. pylori. I wanted to find parasites. And almost every client that would come to me that had these health concerns, we would find parasites every time, or H. pylori, or other bacteria infections. And then we would do holistical protocols with supplements to remove those. I would always give them the option, hey, take this to your doctor. I'm not your doctor, and if you have concerns, take these results. And believe it or not, a lot of doctors hated me. They did not like what I would find, because here their clients would come to them being unhealthy, and they couldn't recommend the testing that I found these parasites. And one client actually we found a tapeworm. Okay, she was so sick. She had scabs all over her body for years, and they could never find it. I almost got sued because of it, because my company, not my company, but the company that I work with, found this tapeworm, and the doctors were like, "That's BS. Who's this company?" And she came back at me and was angry at me that we found this thing. We never spoke again, because I just said, I think it's best to work with your doctors. I'm not the guy for you. But I mean, finding those stressors can really be a huge component in your health. And I got secrets on weight loss, right? This is more about health, because this is the thing. A sick body cannot lose weight, okay? So the things I'm going to suggest today are going to be about getting healthy, which the side effect of getting healthy is weight loss, okay? We're all good so far? I got my little speech done there. Awesome, awesome. So the first tip we're going to talk about is intermittent fasting. Has anybody ever heard of fasting before? Okay, a little bit. So I got an awesome video on a doctor and a good research article that's going to be in that email. It's going to talk about fasting. There's a lot of different ways to fast. There's a 24-hour one, a 16-hour one, and there's so many of them. But again, you will see the research and you can try it out if you'd like. Again, what works for one isn't going to work for the other in terms of how your genetics are, what you eat, your sleeping patterns. So everything I say today, don't say it's like in gold here, but just kind of play with it. And the research that I'm going to show you, kind of go, oh my gosh, fasting, that's pretty interesting. There's research on fasting that says it releases growth hormone. You guys know about growth hormone? It's a hormone that you want a lot of. People are injecting it now, right? I'm sure you've heard of, HGH. But let's do it the natural way. Fasting and high intensity exercise. These are some of the ways that we can stimulate growth hormone. The research that I was reading this morning actually said that the fasting part of it increased growth hormone 1,300% in females and 2,000% in males. I can't wait to fast, actually. I haven't done it for a while, and I'm going to try it for this weight loss challenge. I'm going to actually enter it. So in case, little tidbit, we are having a weight loss challenge in a week or so. So if you haven't gone on to that, let me know. We'll get you signed up. That's kind of like the precursor to this talk right now. But that's about fasting, okay? That's a great tip that we're going to be including in that email for you, okay? Then when I just talked about the high-intensity interval training. Have you heard of HIIT before? H-I-I-T. High intensity interval training, called a couple other things. I call it metabolic training. So here's a general rule, and this is kind of from the PACE program. If you want that document, it's the research on some of that high intensity training. But a general rule would say, go on the elliptical for a minute at a high speed. You want to almost catch your breath for that minute, and then go at a slow speed or even stop for a minute. And do that for 10, 15 minutes, 20 maybe if you can. In the beginning, you probably won't be able to go that much, but that intensity is such a great avenue for weight loss, because what happens is when you're going to that anaerobic, that's why Pure Motion actually kind of started, is because those intervals that we're doing are the same kind of, what Spencer did today was just like that, right? High intensity, 50 seconds to a minute. And when you're at that anaerobic threshold, the major source of energy is sugar. Okay, so we burn sugar, and then our body says, hey, I'm out of sugar. Hey, fat, come on, help me out, turn to sugar. That's what happens. So it's a great fat loss program, is that high intensity. And everybody has their own intensity, so don't feel like, well, I'm not going as fast as so-and-so. No, this is you personally on how you respond. Do what you can do, okay? I don't want you to get injured and get out there and go crazy, but just understand that we want to burn as much sugar as possible, so our body says, fat, turn to sugar, okay? All righty. Okay, hormones. I already talked a little bit about hormones, talked a little bit about insulin, so we'll kind of do a little review here. So when you eat a carb-loaded meal, I think the crow is heckling me though, I think that was up there. So what happens is your sugar spikes, right? Your pancreas says, oh my gosh, oh, sugar, release insulin, release insulin. So then it opens up the receptors, insulin takes the sugar into the muscles. After a certain point, the muscles say, I'm full of sugar, especially if you haven't done anything. Say you're sitting at your office, you just went to lunch and you had, whatever you had, a big old carb meal, okay? That insulin is going to take that extra sugar and store it as a triglyceride, which is, again, a fancy word for fat, okay? And there's another hormone that works against insulin. So when insulin is high, glucagon is low. Have you guys heard of glucagon? Anybody? Okay, this is the hormone that we want, because guess what glucagon does? Burns fat. Well, how do we release glucagon? Exercise is awesome. Those meals that are protein-based, maybe fat, the good healthy fat, avocados are great, coconut oil, olive oil, the good healthy fats are going to help regulate that sugar so we don't get that insulin spike, so we can lower that response, which will stimulate glucagon. Okay? So far so good? Alrighty. Okay, so we talked about cortisol a little bit. One of the things in the testing that I do, I'm always looking for adrenal fatigue. So we look at the adrenal glands, which are right above the kidneys, and looking at cortisol. So the saliva testing is so awesome because the saliva that you're doing, the testing, is 4 times in a day. So 6 a.m., 10 a.m., the late afternoon, and then before night. So cortisol, the pattern of cortisol should be highest in the morning and then gradually goes down at night, and that's when melatonin kicks in and allows you to sleep. That would be a healthy rhythm of cortisol, okay? So when I've looked at the cortisol readings on my clients, some people are so low in the morning and actually spikes at night, which is the opposite effect. So I know that, believe it or not, I've actually had clients that have decreased their exercise routines in terms of the frequency and the intensity, because we have to heal those adrenal glands. So when you have, because exercise is stress, okay? It's a good stress, but unfortunately it is stress and it releases cortisol. So we need to, if you're in adrenal fatigue, lowering that intensity is going to help heal those glands. Maybe even more like a yoga or a meditation is going to be more healing for you. So if you wake up in the morning and you're fatigued, that's something that we should definitely talk about, okay? Because you should be wide awake, ready to go, doing your job, getting that little meal in or whatever you got to do to get going. Unless you're fasting, right? Okay. Now another really important is the thyroid, okay? This is a simple test that you can do at home. When you first wake up, get a thermometer, put it in your armpit, let it there for 2 minutes. That temperature should be 97.6 or above. That would be a healthy thyroid, okay, response. Now if it's lower than that, I'm not saying if it's lower than that you have an issue with your thyroid, but it's something that you may want to go check out. Because if you have a sluggish thyroid, weight loss is also going to be very challenging. That's hypothyroidism. Okay, I don't know if anybody has it in here, but you don't have to share, but that's something that, you don't want to take in consideration. Okay? So far, so good on that. Sleep is very, 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 very important, okay? I can't tell you how many clients say, I get 4 hours of sleep and I just feel great. Well, I don't know if I believe that so much. And if you do feel great now, you're not going to feel great in a year. So we need like 7 to 9 hours. Believe me, I don't always get that either, but that sleep component is so huge. And so many of my clients would come to me, 1 or 2 o'clock, Kevin, I just wake up and I can't get back to sleep. What probably has happened, and there's so many factors, it could be internal stressors, like we talked about. It could be we had a higher carb meal at night. So what happens is, say 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever, it's a high carb meal and your blood sugar spikes and then insulin, right? What happens is you're gonna crash at a certain time. And then what happens is when you crash in your blood sugar because the insulin has regulated it, that's a stress. And cortisol is released to mobilize more sugar because your brain says, I'm stressed, I need more sugar right now. And then you're tossing and turning at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning going, I can get back to sleep. I don't know why, I'm so tired, but I can't sleep because cortisol is elevated, okay? So playing with that diet, I tell people, you know what would be a good thing to do? And I don't know how many people use coconut oil in here. I love coconut oil, I can't even speak enough about it. It's an antibacterial, antifungal. It really helps with blood sugar. There's actually some research on it. I know it's kind of new research. I'm not saying it's going to help, but actually, because it's a medium chain triglyceride, it immediately feeds the brain. So for people that have Alzheimer's, I would love to see them on that, okay? There's a lot of documents on YouTube. I'm not saying there's medical proof on coconut oil and Alzheimer's, but it's something, why wouldn't you try it? Okay, because it immediately feeds the brain. They actually done studies and studies on these certain kind of individual groups on that, and I can't speak enough about coconut oil. But what I'm getting at is maybe take a little bit of a teaspoon 8 or 9 o'clock at night. You know, if you have that sugar issue at night, you may want to do that. Okay? Awesome, awesome. Any questions so far? Are we getting to, am I confusing at all? We're all good to go? Making sense? Okay, so the next kind of secret I got is all about the supplements. We talked a little bit about that. I think getting a multivitamin mineral is very important. But what's really important is the bioavailability of that vitamin. You know, so Centrum in 1 a day, I am not a fan of. What they say to do is drop that pill or that capsule into some water, squeeze a little bit of lemon juice, which will mimic stomach acid, and if that dissolves within a few hours, it's going to be somewhat absorbed in your body. But again, I'm not a fan of 1 a day or Centrum, something like that. There's definitely some good products out there. I won't make my recommendations right now. If you have questions on what you would like, I can definitely help with that. Probiotics. Okay, I'm looking at getting every client that deals with me personally, I have to recommend that because I believe in it so much, and getting that gut healthy. And having that healthy gut, that good bacteria is going to help with digestion, because this is the thing, when your gut, I guess I'll kind of go into a little bit of digestion. Does anybody know what leaky gut syndrome is? Okay, no, yes, here. So the mucosal lining in your body starts in your mouth. Okay, right there is your mucosal lining, goes in your esophagus, in your stomach, the intestines, out the genitals. This is your protective skin on the inner part, okay, of your body. Okay, and this mucosal barrier is like this, okay? Remember a biology class, those microvilli, villi and microvilli you've heard about before? That's what these are, these little finger-like projections. And guess what happens in your stomach? Okay, these have digestive enzymes and juices, and they help break down that food. What leaky gut is this. Okay, and what actually happens is they atrophy because of too much, maybe it's alcohol, or you're under chronic stress, or you have one of those internal stressors, or a lot of sugar can actually disrupt that mucosal lining. So the reason I recommend probiotics is because it can help counteract some of those effects. Obviously, if you're continuously doing those stressors of the sugar and maybe sodas or the Gatorades, you know, I know people think, well, all these athletes are drinking Gatorade, it must be okay for you. For losing weight, Gatorades or Powerades or vitamin water are definitely not something you want to consume. Yeah, if you're running a marathon, for sure, yeah, you can go get some electrolytes. That's what, you know, in a lot of those. But the artificial coloring and sweeteners, I am never going to be a fan of. So definitely take note of that if you are. You know, I know vitamin water was, oh yeah, it's vitamin water. I think it's a great name because it obviously makes you think you're getting the vitamins. Unfortunately, you're not. Okay, any questions on that at all? No? Amino acids, whoops, sorry. looking in there. Amino acids, okay, are very, very important. Where do amino acids come from? Anybody? Protein. You guys know that. Come on, everybody knows that. And there's so many individual amino acids that do certain things, and a lot of them are precursors to neurotransmitters. So for instance, a tyrosine. You guys ever heard of tyrosine before? It's a precursor to dopamine. Dopamine is that feel good, happy, energized. So if you have low energy, if somebody had weak adrenal glands, I may supplement with tyrosine. There's a great book out there called The Diet Cure, and this health practitioner, this certified nutritionist called Julia Ross, that's all she does is amino acid therapy. Okay, and she actually deals with some extreme cases. She only deals with, not only, but she deals with a lot of them are alcoholics. And she has a 75% success rate using amino acid therapy. Now, if you know the norm out there, it's about 25%, a natural, thing. But so I'm not like talking about alcoholics here, but I'm just saying, amino acids are that important in your body. So when you're consuming protein, complete proteins would be like, chicken, beef, those kinds of things, right? You have all the complete proteins. But if your gut isn't breaking down the food because you maybe have leaky gut syndrome or you have inflammation going on, you're not going to break down that protein and get those amino acids. So I've had a few clients who've had anxiety or depression issues, and we look at their gut, and guess what? Their gut is completely leaky gut syndrome. They may have candida, which I can talk about at a different time, but I mean, if you want more information, just let me know about candida. Candida symptoms are bloating and constipation, so if you have any of those two, please talk to me about that. But so that's definitely a concern. So taking an amino acid supplement would be very beneficial. Glutamine is the most abundant, also helps stimulate growth hormone. That's the hormone that we want, obviously, right? Also testosterone. So that's a little bit about amino acids. Enzymes. I think everybody could be on an enzyme, very affordable. And this is the thing, if we don't have those enzymes in our villi because of inflammation for what reason, those enzymes are going to help break down that food. Because like say for instance, and an enzyme is a puzzle piece, okay? So say for instance, you had an apple, okay? And it fits into this puzzle piece. It goes, oh, okay, I'm going to use these nutrients to do what I have to replenish my body and get those nutrients to where it is. Now, if these microvilli are inflamed again, okay, if you have any kind of digestive stress, you should definitely talk to me. But I don't want to get into detail again, but I mean about what exactly that entails. But you have to heal the gut. Heal the gut is going to be the best way, and there's a lot of ways to do that, okay? But we got to find these internal stressors, okay? So enzymes, important. Okay, we're almost there. How much time we got here? Okay, cool. Superfoods. I actually have a little example in the back in that cupboard. It's raw organic apple cider vinegar, okay? There's a lot of good benefits of it. I actually wrote some down. It prevents flu and stomach illness. It actually can help dissolve kidney stones, lowers insulin and glucose levels, which we were talking about, okay? Helps relieve heartburn, which I wish I would have known a while ago. Helps break down fat, lowers cholesterol, high in potassium. Also helps with joint pain. They say if you have a sore throat, take a couple or a teaspoon of this apple cider, cayenne pepper, and 3 cloves of raw honey, and to take that if you have a sore throat. So not like I want to get a sore throat, but when I do, I'm going to try that little remedy. I never tried that before, but I was like, that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. So again, that's kind of how it looks. You want to get raw though, okay? If you go to the store, there'll be some that is pasteurized, some that is unpasteurized. I want unpasteurized. I don't want to kill all the good things in it, okay? So a couple other superfoods, just talked about coconut oil, kale, chia seeds.
Are you saying raw apple cider?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you take a teaspoon, how much? Just a pen, yeah.
You can do that with water, you can do it with honey a couple times a day.
My older boys swear by it when they get a cold or whatever. Oh yeah, I mean it's amazing. They use it for all kind. They love that stuff. I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, just hearing you say it now.
And I don't know about you guys, but man, since I came back from Wisconsin in January, I mean, everybody has had some sort of flu or
Oh, yeah.
sickness or whatever. And
Everywhere.
I don't know about you, man, but I hate being sick, and it is no fun, and everything kind of stops, and you just can't do much. And so that's a good remedy. Oil of oregano. That's, I mean, if you're my client, you've definitely heard me talk about oil of oregano. Angie's sick of hearing that, I think. But pumpkin seeds. Guess what pumpkin seeds do? Now, you gotta get raw, and they don't taste very good because I've tried it before, but they actually increase testosterone, which is kind of interesting. So that's a hormone that you all want, okay? You don't want a lot of it if you're a woman, but you definitely want it because it's gonna burn fat, more energy, libido, you're gonna feel good, okay? Cilantro. Cilantro is a very great herb for detoxing the liver. We talked about the liver, cilantro, okay? Good little herb. A lot of those herbs are actually so many benefits. So a lot of people out of feel maybe healthy food isn't tasty. Try some herbs or spices. A lot of those have really good benefits, like turmeric. You know, I mean, that's a good anti-inflammatory. So just, you know, check it out. If you want some more information, let me know. I actually have a fat-burning tea that I got from a doctor that I'm going to share in that email, okay? It also helps detox that liver as well. Some of the ingredients, there's 3 ingredients: whole cumin seeds, coriander seeds, and fennel seeds. Okay, I've actually tried this multiple times. The energy that I feel is off the charts. It doesn't last all the time. It's not like a caffeine kind of a buzz, but it definitely can keep you energized as well as help you burn fat and mobilize that fat, okay? The next little tip here is the elimination diet. Has anybody ever heard of the elimination diet before? No? Okay. This is my recommendation, and again, you may not believe everything I say, but when I say the elimination diet, I want to eliminate at least gluten, dairy, soy, eggs, and nuts are the top 5 foods that when I've done my blood testing on clients for food sensitivities, these are the most high. Okay, any doctor will even, you know, say it out there that, you know, gluten and dairy and soy are kind of, they can be issues. I'm not saying you're going to have issues, but what you do is you eliminate those for 3 weeks, and then you can reintroduce those foods and see how you feel. Okay, I'm not saying you're like, well, I'm not celiac, I don't know, I've heard gluten, I don't know if I believe in gluten. Well, again, just so you guys know a little bit about me, I watch and read almost non-stop about nutrition. And I've watched a gluten summit with the top doctors in the world, and they have a little different idea about gluten. They think 99% of us can't break down gluten. Because this is the thing with gluten, we don't have the enzyme to break down gluten, okay, in our gut. Okay, most food has the enzymes, you know, that's not processed but 100 times with certain things. But again, so if you're eating any kind of processed carb, just eliminate that. You know, if you want to start off small with the elimination diet and just take gluten out for a couple weeks, I've had people that were 10 years of insomniac, 3 days sleeping 8 hours after taking out gluten. I've seen 10 pounds lost in a month taking out gluten. I've seen skin issues go away taking out gluten. So I'm a firm believer. Am I gluten-free? I'm not, to be honest, okay? Do I ever buy? I don't buy one processed carb, but if I go out, I'm not gonna, you know, and I don't really see a lot of symptoms. Is that meaning that, you know, but during this weight loss challenge, I'm gonna take it out and see what happens with my weight loss, because I need to lose a couple pounds, so we're gonna see what happens with that. I think some of the foods out there that are toxic foods as well, that we're talking about, you know, I know a lot of people think that having a glass of wine at night is okay. If you're into weight loss, I'm gonna have to disagree. It's probably not the best thing to do is have a glass of wine or any kind of alcohol to help you sleep. It's gonna bring up sugar, okay, again. We wanna eliminate that sugar response. You might disagree with this, but Yoplait yogurt, no good, okay? I don't know, there's 28 grams of sugar per serving. That's not gonna be that healthy. So we're talking about probiotics, you know, and there are some good foods out there that have probiotics, and good vanilla or plain yogurt would be a benefit. Understand that we're looking at CFUs with probiotics. I'm gonna go a little bit back, okay? So when a CFU is how many microorganisms in that probiotic. A serving of yogurt, you may get maybe 100,000 at the most of microorganisms. The ones that I sell have 20 billion, okay, CFUs.